In this video, we're going to be talking about back-to-back monster storm systems that's going to bring a Pineapple Express, some hurricane force wind gust, and some heavy snow, along with an update on the tropics as well as a name for my new puppy. So if you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button and notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. This is your October 20th update, and what we're looking at here, we've got a winter storm warning that's winding down here into parts of Wyoming as well as South Dakota this morning, where they've had some heavy snow as of late. It's 27 degrees this morning in Denver, but we do have some instability up here by portions of Minnesota and Iowa today, where storms can become marginally severe. But a lot of the action is going to be off the West Coast with some back-to-back storms that are going to be packing a punch, and they've already got some hazardous sea warnings out in that region, and that is just the beginning stages of what's to come over the next 7 to 10 days off the West Coast. So let's take a look at the simulated radar this morning, where the rain's going to fly today for your Wednesday. We've got all that instability where that marginal risk for the storm prediction center is highlighted. So we have some stronger storms that are going to break out in parts of South Dakota as well as southern Minnesota, portions of Iowa here, and that'll filter into Wisconsin with some heavier rain. We do have some instability down here to the south as well, with some Gulf moisture that's going to be impacting southern regions of Louisiana, Mississippi as well. And then we also have that West Coast storm that's going to be just the beginning stages of some heavier rain off the coast of Washington and Oregon and Northern California. And this is just the beginning for what a very wet time frame for that region. So, but tonight is when the first storm really rapidly deepens, and it drops all the way down to a 954 millibar. That's actually almost equivalent to a major hurricane. So they're going to have some very high winds off the coast, but some of those higher winds could push into the coastal regions here. That's why they already have those hazardous sea warnings for some heavy swells along the coast and some very high waves off the coast. We're talking 40, 50. This is just the first one. The other one's even stronger than this, guys. So this is what they call bomb out, or a bomb cyclone, when they have a massive drop of 40 millibars or greater within a 24-hour time span. So that's what's going to be happening between now and tomorrow morning with this deepening low pressure system as it rapidly develops and creates that massive wind gust and those heavy swells offshore. But inland, we're talking a Pineapple Express precipitation. This is Hawaii, folks, and this is the precipitable water imagery, and we've got just a steady stream of moisture just impacting. This is where the name Pineapple Express comes from, swinging all the way. There's the low pressure up to the north, and on the backside, on the downside of that, they're going to bring in all that warm blob out there in the Pacific. It's going to be taking advantage and pounding the West Coast with that heavy rain. And so it's going to be a 1-2 punch. And this is just the first system of what the next system, it could even actually be even stronger than this one. So as we take a look at the simulated radar for tomorrow afternoon, there's those tightening isobars really compacting. There's that deepening low pressure system out here. And on the south side, we've got that wraparound moisture, and that's going to be feeding just a relentless amount of rain into the West Coast of places into Washington and Oregon and Northern California. Those are your main areas are going to be impacted over the next 7 to 10 days with some very heavy rain. And this is just the first system with what's to come later on of the weekend. But for the rest of the country, we do have a little bitty mini cool front. It's not going to be cold by any standards, but it's going to be creating a boundary layer and create some instability where you could have some stronger storms break out into Norman and to Lawton tomorrow in Oklahoma. Man, they already had 28 tornadoes this month in Oklahoma, which actually breaks the all-time record back in 1998, where they had 27 tornadoes. So they definitely don't need any more severe weather, but we could have some more severe weather as we get into the middle of next week, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. But man, there's that cool front, but man, all the instability is going to be off the West Coast into Washington and Oregon and Northern California here. Not much into the Southern California region, but we'll just have some scattered sporadic storms. There are some little marginal storms that could take place into western parts of Pennsylvania coming up on Thursday. So as we transition into your Friday time frame, there's that mini cool front that's actually going to back up as a warm front and still create some instability in and around the Oklahoma area, portions of Kansas and Arkansas. I don't know if it quite makes it to Dallas Fort Worth. I mean, there's like a 10% chance. I'm not really expecting much of anything, but there's that mini cold fronts. This is not cold by any standards. In fact, some of these areas up here into the Ohio Valley is having their warmest October on record so far. It's been very warm up here with that deepening southeast Canadian ridge. It just doesn't seem to want to go away anytime soon. So all the troughs are set up on the West Coast, and that's where the Pineapple Express, the precipitation, the higher winds, and in the interior region, some heavy snow flying into Idaho, into Montana, getting into portions of Wyoming, and that'll be coming up on the day on your Friday. So as we look at that second system, yes, we have two back-to-back powerful systems. This one by Sunday actually deepens to a 947 millibar. I mean, you've seen some of the hurricanes, like Hurricane Harvey was a 944. That gives you the equivalent of what this has the capability of. Luckily, that's not going to be touching inland, but it's still going to bring some very high winds off into the coastal regions. I mean, look at all the tight, isolated, isobars here that's really compacting. And that's going to bring even heavier precipitation, probably a little bit further south than the one you're going to be dealing with on Thursday. But man, even some higher wind gusts with this one going to be a little bit closer inland off the coast. So that's when you really have to be concerned about some of those higher wind gusts, especially if you live off by the coastal regions. Some of these could be up to hurricane force winds. Is not out of the question coming up on the day on a Sunday. And then as we move forward, there's your maximum wave heights with that second system. I mean, look at the wind direction. I mean, some of these waves are 84 feet. I mean, during the perfect storm back in what 91, it had it confirmed 100-foot wave. So this is the capability. I mean, luckily this won't make it inland, but man, off coast, I mean, it's going to be very dangerous out there. Look at this huge swath of 30, 40, 50-foot waves over a huge area of real estate. And there's the wind direction as it pushes further into the coast. So yes, definitely along the coastal regions of Washington and Oregon and Northern California, you definitely have to be looking out for some high swells and dangerous rip currents out there. It's going to be impossible to travel by boat in this area whatsoever by the time, even for the next 7 days. Technically, it's going to be some very dangerous high seas out there. But there's your simulated radar by the time we get into that Sunday night time frame, and I think that's when some of the heaviest rain is really going to be packing the punch. We're probably going to be dealing with some flood advisories, flood warnings by then, especially as we get into Northern California. It's been dangerously dry out there, and then it's just we basically go from feast to famine out there. With Sacramento had 212 days without a drop of rainfall, and all of a sudden they're going to be picking up multi-inch rains, and so the ground is extremely dry. So yes, flash flooding is definitely a concern. They need all the precipitation they can get, but it's going to be too much at one time. And by Sunday, yes, we definitely could be looking at some flooding concerns in these regions, as these waves and waves of impulses of energy are going to be impacting the coast, and the ground's going to be probably saturated by then because they've already had some heavier rain. We're talking, this is Wednesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. By the time we get into Sunday with that heavier rain, we've already had couple inches of rain already fallen, and this is just going to be compounding to that as adding to those totals. So as we transition into that Monday, going to that Tuesday time frame, It's still raining off the coast. I mean, this is a good solid 6, 7, 8, almost 10 days of solid rain, at least some precipitation in your area, some heavier than others. But as this system moves further inland, it's going to be bringing some heavy snow again into parts of Montana, getting into Wyoming again, same parts of western Colorado here. I don't think it makes it to Denver again. This is mainly a higher elevation event. And we also have to look at the tropics down here in the Pacific. And we had Pamela, right? We just had Pamela. This has a 10% chance right now from the National Hurricane Center. Over 5 days, it has a 70% chance. So by the time we get into that Tuesday, October 26th timeframe, it could be Tropical Storm Rick by then. And it's already, look, I mean, it's almost kind of the same place where Pamela was just 10 days ago. So as we move forward, we have to be on the lookout for what's to come with maybe potentially Rick, because remember, Pamela actually spread its precipitation into parts of Texas. So again, this is about a week out. So it hasn't even developed into a storm yet. So we have to be on the lookout for this system, because by then, the heavier snow will push into the interior regions, but by that cold front as well. And that's going to create the instability and that boundary layer setting up over the central U.S. That's when we could have some severe storms breaking out, and we'll see if this precipitation is able to connect with that cold front like it did with Pamela and bring some precipitation back into Texas. That's yet to be determined. The GFS model is a little bit more bullish, but again, it's a week out and this storm hasn't even formed yet. So as we move forward with the winds, I mean, these winds are really going to be packing a punch, especially along the coastal regions where they could have up to hurricane force winds along the coast here. Wind gusts, these are wind gusts that could be potentially impacting the area. But just like those two powerful storm systems that we had the week prior, these are basically another two powerful storm systems. They're going to be coming across mainly off the west coast, but that second one's going to be pushing further inland, and that's going to create a lot of the instability along with that cold front and some very high wind gusts further inland as we get into Colorado, into Wyoming, getting into Nebraska. As we transition to the middle of next week, there's what could be Rick off the coast here of Mexico. So, and as we transition into the precipitation, man, look at the heavy rainfall. How often? You haven't seen this in a long time, with almost double-digit totals for Northern California, and that is what's on the table. There's actually not much for Southern California. I mean, Los Angeles might pick up a 1/4 inch out of this deal. This is mainly a Northern California West Coast event, and especially a Northern California where that Pineapple Express really sets up, and just that really just relentless amount of rain just feeds into that area. You can see it's really dry in the south side. I mean, it's technically really dry even into portions of Texas, and we'll have to see what's to come with possibly Rick to bring some precipitation into possibly Texas by then. But a lot of the instability is going to be by Wednesday and Thursday, setting up over portions of the plains and getting into portions of the southeast, where we could be setting the stage for some severe weather as we get into that Wednesday, Thursday timeframe. That's actually not until next week, but also definitely some heavy rain for sure out of this deal as this continues moving across. So as we look at the GFS model, again, still pretty bullish on the rain amounts off the West Coast. Some double-digit totals is not out of the question. We're probably talking easily 4 to 6 inches in places like Seattle or Portland area. Some higher amounts as we get into Northern California, and some isolated double-digit, even foot amounts is definitely not out of the question as we get into over those next 7 days. You can see the GFS is a little bit more bullish on the combination of that cold front and possibly with the remnants of Rick by then. So we'll just have to see how this plays out and see if it's going to bring more of that precipitation into Texas. But the severe threat is going to be probably setting up over portions of the plains and as well as the southeast with some heavier rain as well. And then look at the snow that's going to be flying on the colder side and mainly the higher elevations again. But definitely some double-digit totals is not out of the questions for those regions on the European model, and the GFS is kind of implying the same thing. So again, those heavier snows will set up in a lot of the same areas that saw some of the snow last week with those two back-to-back systems. But now let's take a look at the tropics, because it's been pretty quiet for October standards. It's been pretty quiet. We always look at the Caribbean in October, and then the Climate Prediction Center has actually highlighted a moderate risk for tropical storm development. We still got another month and a half left of tropical storm season, and hasn't gone away. We're still waiting if we're going to be getting Wanda out there, and we could be getting that by the time we get into late October. Because if you take a look at some of the spaghetti models of the GFS model, between now and the 27th, it really doesn't have much of anything. But after you get beyond that, and that's where the Climate Prediction Center has highlighted that window there between the 27th and November 2nd, where we could be looking at the Caribbean or some tropical trouble starting to creep in into those regions. So we'll definitely have to look at, I mean, the water's plenty of warm. There's not really much shear technically. So I'm kind of surprised it's not as a little bit more active than what it is currently right now. But still, we could be looking at another storm or two before the tropical season is over. And the big announcement is I'm getting a new puppy, and I know a lot of you guys have put it out there, what to name it, and so I greatly appreciate it. But what we came up with is going to be, I'm getting a new corgi girl puppy. It's going to be named Sunny. Sunny Halo. Sunny Halo was actually a 1983 Kentucky Derby racehorse winner. And 83 had a good meaning for me because that's when Hurricane Alicia went over my house back when I was 8 years old. And that's when I had, fell in love with the weather, became interested in the weather. So I thought Sunny was a great, bright, cheerful name. And then also Sunny Halo had a good meaning back in 83. And that connection right there. So I can't wait to pick her up. I go drive to Joplin, Missouri on November the 7th, and I'll be bringing her home, posting pictures. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Can't wait to bring her home and be a part of the POW family. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.